Kate once believed that after weathering countless storms, her love with William was unshakable. But a single photograph, William smiling beside Rose Hanbury, was enough to send everything into a tailspin. She didn't cry or cast blame. She simply sat by the window watching their three children play her heart hollow. William, meanwhile, chose silence. He left, leaving behind cold text messages and an unfillable void. As a mother, Kate tried to stay strong. But when Charlotte quietly handed her a handwritten letter, all her suppressed emotions broke free. Could a private meeting with King Charles, a father battling illness, be enough to rekindle two cooling hearts? Or would history repeat itself as it once tore apart Charles and Diana? The afternoon at Kensington Palace was bathed in soft golden sunlight, as if the sky had conspired to embellish the royal garden party. Vibrant roses, sparkling champagne flutes, and the bright laughter of esteemed guests blended into a perfect portrait of opulence. Yet amid this idyllic scene, a fleeting, seemingly harmless moment quietly planted the seeds of a storm. William, Prince of Wales, stood among the crowd, his navy suit tailored to perfection, a polite smile fixed on his face. He was chatting with Rose Hanbury, an old friend from their carefree youth when they shared light-hearted stories over the Norfolk fields. Rose, with her golden hair and sharp gaze, tilted her head and laughed as William recounted a tale from their teenage hunting days. They stood close, too close shoulders, brushing as if time had erased the years of distance. An accidental touch, a fleeting glance in that moment was captured by an anonymous photographer's lens. Kate, Princess of Wales, wasn't there that day. A slight fever had kept Charlotte at Adelaide Cottage, where Kate spent the day reading to her daughter and stroking her soft brown hair. Yet even in her absence, Kate felt an inexplicable chill, a vague premonition she couldn't name. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, the media storm hit. A tabloid notorious for its sensational headlines published a hastily snapped photo, William and Rose beaming under the sunset standing close. The bold caption stabbed like a knife. Rose returns. Kate, absent friendship, or something more. In the living room at Adelaide Cottage, Kate sat in an armchair, a cold cup of tea in her hands. The photo on her phone screen pierced her heart like a needle. It wasn't the first time Rose Hanbury's name had been linked to William. In 2019, similar rumors had kept her awake at night, questioning whether there was something between her husband and this woman. William had sworn it was nothing but friendship, that the press had exaggerated everything, and she had chosen to believe him. But now this photo, his smile, her gaze, shook her fragile trust. Kate set the phone down, trying to breathe deeply. She told herself she was the Princess of Wales, admired nationwide for her composure and strength. But beneath that perfect exterior, she was just a wife, a mother, her heart bleeding with unanswered questions. Why Rose? Why now, after all they'd overcome together? And why in that moment had William let himself get so close to someone who had once caused her pain? She stood and walked to the window, gazing at the garden where her children often played. The image of Charlotte, George, and Louis running around, their laughter echoing, usually soothed her soul. But today, even that memory couldn't fill the growing emptiness inside her. Morning light filtered through the curtains of Adelaide Cottage, pale and muted like Kate's mood. She sat at her vanity, her hands resting lightly on a framed family photo. William, Kate, George, and Charlotte all smiling brightly during a summer picnic. But today that smile felt distant, belonging to a time when her trust in William was still intact. The tabloid photo haunted her, not just because of the moment it captured William and Rose standing close, but because it reopened old wounds, rumors from 2019 she thought she'd buried. Back then she had chosen to trust William, believing the media's whispers were mere passing breezes. But now, seeing the headline, Rose returns, she felt as if someone had unearthed her buried insecurities, exposing the doubts she tried to hide. She stood trying to focus on the day ahead. As Princess of Wales, her schedule was packed: a meeting with charity patrons, a call with a cancer research team, and an afternoon playing with Louis before his nap. But her mind kept drifting to the photo, to William's smile, to Rose's gaze. Was she overreacting, or was there truly something she didn't know? William returned at noon, just as Kate finished a work call. He entered the living room still in a crisp white shirt, but his eyes were weary, as if he too hadn't slept. Kate was arranging Charlotte's books on the table, a mindless task to keep her hands busy to avoid looking at him. Kate, William said, his voice soft but cautious, like he was treading on thin ice. We need to talk. She paused but didn't look up. About what her voice was calm, but inside her heart pounded, waiting for an answer that could change everything. About the article. About Rose. William stepped closer, stopping just far enough to respect the invisible barrier she'd erected. I know what you're thinking, but I swear it was just a normal conversation. Nothing more. Kate slowly lifted her gaze, her eyes sharp, but betraying a pain she couldn't hide. Just a normal conversation, she repeated, her voice trembling slightly. Then why her, William? Why Rose, the one you promised to keep your distance from? William sighed, rubbing his temple. He knew this question was coming, but wasn't prepared with an answer to soothe her. Kate, you know me. I'm not that kind of person. I just ran into her at the party and we talked like old friends. The press blew it out of proportion like they always do. Like they always do. Kate interrupted, her voice rising sharper now. They can't blow something up if there's nothing to grab onto, William. A photo, a moment, a glance, they got those because you let it happen. Her words cut like a knife, not loud but piercing, slicing through the space between them. William stood still, his eyes darkening, torn between explaining himself and frustration at being doubted. What are you saying, Kate? That I betrayed you after everything we've been through? She didn't answer right away. She turned away, looking out the window at the vibrant garden, oblivious to the storm in her heart. I don't know what to think anymore, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I just know I asked you to stay away from her. And you agreed, so why, William? Why is she back again? The question hung in the air, unanswered. William opened his mouth but closed it again. He knew any words now could be misinterpreted. He shook his head and left the room, leaving Kate with her tangled thoughts. In her mind, memories of 2019 flooded back like an old film reel. She recalled sleepless nights reading venomous articles, hearing whispers from people she thought were friends. She remembered William holding her hand, looking into her eyes and saying, I swear, Kate, there's nothing. I only love you. She had chosen to believe him, not just out of love, but to protect their family, to shield their children from the wounds the media could inflict. But now that trust wavered. Not because she didn't love William, she still did, deeply and fiercely as ever, but because she feared that love might not be enough to keep them together when shadows of the past kept resurfacing, when small cracks grew wider. She sank onto the sofa, clutching a pillow, as if it could anchor her from falling into her own void. She wondered, was she letting fear destroy the most precious thing in her life? Or was that fear a warning, hinting at something she'd never seen outside birds sang in the garden? But in Kate's heart, there was only the silence of a storm approaching. The days following their tense, brief conversation turned Adelaide Cottage into a stifling space, as if every corner held the echo of unspoken words. Kate maintained her outward normalcy, smiling at staff, reading to Louis, helping Charlotte with homework. But inside, her heart was trapped in a loop of doubt and pain. Every glance at William revealed an invisible distance, not just between them, but between her and the confident woman who once believed in their love. William, meanwhile, took on a packed schedule of engagements in Northern England. He called it royal duty, saying he needed time to focus on charity projects and meetings with local leaders. Kate nodded, not objecting, but deep down she saw it for what it was. He was avoiding her. Avoiding her questions, her gaze now sharp and probing, no longer soft. The morning William left, Kate stood at the door, watching him load his suitcase into the car. Charlotte and George ran to hug him tightly while Louis, still sleepy, waved from afar. William smiled at the children, but when his eyes met Kate's, the smile faded. I'll call you, he said, his voice light but lacking the warmth she once knew. Okay, Kate replied evenly. She didn't want to argue in front of the kids, but her heart tightened as his car disappeared behind the trees. She wondered if he'd really call, or if it was just another empty promise, like his vow to keep his distance from Rose Hanbury. In the days that followed, Kate tried to fill the void with work and moments with the children. She attended a fundraiser for children with terminal illnesses, her smile radiant for the cameras. But each return home felt like stepping off a stage. She texted William short messages. How's today? The kids miss you. His replies, if any, were curt. Fine or busy, talk tomorrow. Each message was a pebble tossed into her heart, stirring waves of doubt. One evening, with the children asleep, Kate sat alone in her study, the desk lamp casting light on her tired eyes. She opened her phone, scrolling through old texts with William. Once their messages brimmed with care, playful jokes, simple declarations of love. Now the screen held only cold, perfunctory words, as if they were no longer the couple who shared a world. She stood and walked to the window, staring into the dark garden. She recalled a rare moment when William had opened up. "I never want you to feel alone, Kate. I want to be the one you can rely on no matter what." But now she felt lonelier than ever, not because he was gone, but because she didn't know if his heart was still hers. That night, lying in bed, Kate clutched William's pillow, its faint scent, a bittersweet reminder. It didn't comfort her. It only underscored the growing distance, not in miles, but in doubts she couldn't silence. She closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come. In the darkness, she heard only her heartbeat, slow and steady, waiting for an answer she feared might never arrive. Days at Adelaide Cottage passed like a melancholic melody, repeating low notes of tension. Kate maintained her flawless public smile, appearing at charity events with impeccable grace. But when the spotlight dimmed, she returned to a home that felt emptier than ever. William remained in the north, their calls growing rarer, each word restrained by an invisible wall. She felt the fracture not just in her heart, but in the foundation of the family they'd built together. One evening, with the children asleep, Kate sat in the living room, the fireplace casting dancing shadows on her face. Her phone lay before her, displaying a text she'd sent William. "When are you coming back? The kids are asking for you." No reply, just a cold blue check mark confirming he'd read it. She stared at the screen, waiting, but each passing minute weighed heavier on her heart. Finally, she turned off the phone, as if it could sever the thoughts drowning her. That night, the tension erupted, not in shouts or heated arguments, but in a quiet explosion. When William called, his voice was perfunctory, as if fulfilling an obligation, rather than wanting to talk. "I'm still busy, Kate. Things here aren't simple," he said, his tone flat. Kate, sitting in her study, gripped the phone tightly. She'd held back too long, and now her words spilled out sharp but controlled. "William, do you know the kids ask me every day where you are? Do you know I have to lie saying you're just busy with work when I'm not even sure that's true?" Silence. A long, suffocating pause. Then William replied, his voice low and cold. "What do you want me to say, Kate? I'm doing what I have to. You know what royal duties are like. Don't use duty as an excuse," she cut in, her voice trembling with restraint. "You're not just leaving me, you're leaving the kids. And I don't know if you even want to come back." Her words were an arrow piercing the distance between them. William didn't respond. She heard his sigh through the phone, then a curt statement. "I need time, Kate. I'll be at Amber Hall for a while, to clear my head." The call ended without a goodbye. Kate sat staring into the void, feeling her heart constrict. Amber Hall, once their happy haven, had become his refuge from her. She didn't cry, not because she was strong, but because the pain had surpassed tears. The next morning, the press released carefully controlled stories. A statement from the Royal Communications team read, "The Prince and Princess of Wales are undertaking separate duties to serve the kingdom. They remain in close contact and continue to support each other in their work." Smooth, perfect words, but Kate knew the truth. They were no longer a team, at least not now. She stood before the mirror, preparing for a public appearance. Her emerald dress hugged her frame, her hair meticulously styled, but her eyes betrayed her, a deep sadness no makeup could hide. She wondered if the public would notice, or if they'd only see Princess Kate, the symbol of perfection. She told herself to carry on for the children, for duty, but each step felt heavier with unanswered questions. Did William still love her? Could they ever go back? She looked out the window where Charlotte played with Louis in the garden. Their laughter was a small ray of light through the fog in her heart. She knew whatever happened, she had to be strong for them. But deep down, she clung to a fragile hope that William would find his way back, not out of duty, but out of love. As daylight faded over Adelaide Cottage's garden, Kate sat alone on a bench, a small notebook open on her lap. In recent days, those blank pages had become a sanctuary for emotions she couldn't voice. Each word was a piece of her soul, where she faced herself, not the Princess of Wales, not a public icon, but Kate, a wife grappling with pain, and a mother striving to keep her family whole. She wrote slowly, each line like a self-inflicted wound. "Today, Louis asked why Daddy isn't home. I said he's busy, but his eyes told me he didn't believe it. I don't know how long I can keep lying." She paused, gazing at the blooming roses, indifferent to the storm raging inside her. Writing was her only way to avoid drowning, to hold on to some semblance of control in a world that seemed to be crumbling. Kate wasn't just a wife facing a growing rift with William. She was a mother, and that role now felt heavier than ever. Each day, she tried to shield George, Charlotte, and Louis from the upheaval. She drove them to school, played with them, read bedtime stories, but every smile she gave them carried a hint of strain. She wondered if they noticed, if they felt the void left by William's absence. Charlotte, her 8-year-old with bright eyes and a sensitive heart, seemed to understand more than she let on. One afternoon, as Kate folded laundry, Charlotte quietly entered, holding a folded piece of paper. "Mommy, I have something for you," she said, her voice small but resolute. Kate smiled, expecting a child's drawing, but when she opened it, she found handwritten words, round and heartfelt. "Dear Daddy and Mommy, I know you're sad. I don't know why, but I see Mommy doesn't smile like before, and Daddy doesn't come home. If you still love each other, please don't let rumors ruin our family. I don't need you to be perfect. I just want us to have dinner together like before. I love you both so much. Charlotte." Kate read each word, her breath catching. Tears welled up, not from pain, but from her daughter's love and sincerity. She hugged Charlotte tightly, whispering, "Thank you, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." But inside, a new pain emerged, the guilt of letting her child carry worries that didn't belong in childhood. William at Anmer Hall found no peace either. He walked familiar paths where he and Kate once held hands, laughing with their children. Now every corner reminded him of what he was losing. One evening, visiting the kids, he found a draft of Charlotte's letter in her notebook. Her innocent but piercing words struck his heart. "I don't need you to be perfect. I just want us to have dinner together." He sank into a chair, clutching the paper, his heart constricting. He thought of Kate, her eyes during their last talk, how she tried to stay calm despite breaking inside. He thought of the rumors, Rose, the careless moment at the party that had pushed them to this brink. For the first time, William faced a painful truth. He hadn't just hurt Kate, he'd hurt their children, the ones he loved more than life itself. The room in Buckingham Palace was steeped in rare stillness, lit only by the fireplace casting shadows on ancient walls. King Charles sat in an armchair, weary but regal, his face etched with lines deepened by illness. Before him, William and Kate sat across from each other, a small but palpable distance between them. This was a private meeting, no reporters, no flashing cameras, just three people bound by royal duty and unspoken wounds. Kate kept her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her eyes fixed on her shoes as if they could shield the emotions swirling within. William sat upright, but his eyes betrayed unease. Both had been summoned by Charles, and though no one said it, they knew this was no ordinary invitation. Charles looked at them, his gaze both gentle and stern, like a father imparting something beyond words. His voice, hoarse from illness, carried the weight of experience and pain. "I know the monarchy is not for the faint of heart," he began, pausing to draw a deep breath. "I've lived long enough to see what this crown can do to people, to relationships, to families. And I don't want you to repeat the mistakes I made." William bowed his head, his hands clenching. He knew his father was alluding to the broken marriage with Diana, wounds that never fully healed. Kate, still silent, felt her heart tighten. She had always respected Charles, not just as a king, but as a father who tried, however late, to mend his family's fractures. Charles continued, his voice slow but incisive. "William, Kate, you sit on a throne the world watches, but if you lose each other, that throne is just an empty chair, nothing more." He looked at William, his gaze piercing. "I know the crown's pressure. I know the crowd's whispers can make you doubt yourself. But don't let them take what's most precious, your family." Kate's eyes stung, but she held back tears. Charles's words were a wake-up call, pulling her from months of doubt and pain. She glanced at William, hoping for a sign that he was still the man she loved. But William remained silent, his eyes on the floor, wrestling with himself. Charles coughed softly, then spoke with urgency. "I don't have much time to fix my mistakes. But you still have a chance. Don't let rumors, misunderstandings, or careless moments steal what you've built. Look at your children, George, Charlotte, Louis. They need you not as prince or princess, but as parents." His words were a blade not to wound, but to cut through the pride and fear encasing their hearts. Kate thought of Charlotte's letter, its innocent yet powerful words. I don't need you to be perfect. I just want us to have dinner together. She realized that though she'd tried to be strong for the children, she couldn't do it alone. She needed William, not the Prince of Wales, but her husband, their father. William, for the first time in the meeting, looked up, his eyes meeting Kate's. In that moment, no words were spoken, but they felt a fragile connection, a thread on the verge of breaking, but still holding. He thought of their shared struggles, the media's pressure, royal duties, and quiet moments with their children. He realized that losing Kate, losing this family, would make the throne, however prestigious, merely a meaningless burden. As they left Buckingham, neither spoke. They stepped into the car, sitting close but with a small gap. Yet Charles's words lingered like a small flame, not enough to banish the darkness, but enough to light the way. The road ahead was still fraught, but for the first time in weeks they felt that maybe, just maybe, they could bridge the chasm. Under the pale gold of a summer sunset, the garden at Adelaide Cottage glowed with the colors of a summer festival. Children's laughter mingled with folk music, the scent of fresh bread and flowers floating in the air. For Kate, this wasn't just a festival, it was a milestone, a new beginning for what she and William had nearly lost. In the weeks following their meeting with King Charles, Kate and William chose to sit down and face each other, not as prince and princess, but as two people who had vowed to stay together forever. The conversation took place in Adelaide Cottage's small living room, where the fireplace cast familiar shadows on the walls. No staff, no camera, just them and the truths that needed to be laid bare. Kate began, her voice trembling but resolute. William, I can't live in doubt anymore. I need to know if you still want to be here with me, with our children. If not, I'll learn to accept it. But I need the truth. William looked into her eyes, no longer avoiding her gaze. He took her hand the first time in weeks and spoke, his voice low but sincere. Kate, I was wrong. I let careless moments, the media's pressure, push us apart. But I swear there's nothing between me and Rose. Only you, only this family is what I want to hold on to. His words didn't erase Kate's wounds, but they were a gentle breeze clearing some of the fog of doubt. She told him about Charlotte's letter, the night she wrote in her journal to keep from breaking her fear they'd become another Charles and Diana. William listened, his eyes welling up as he heard about their daughter's letter, realizing that in protecting his pride, he'd hurt those he loved most. I don't promise to be perfect, William said, still holding her hand. But I promise to try every day to be worthy of you and our children. Kate nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Not everything was resolved, but for the first time she felt they were facing the chasm together, not standing on opposite sides. A month later, the summer festival at Adelaide Cottage unfolded not as a grand royal event, but as a simple gathering for family and close friends. William and Kate appeared together, no media team, no scripted moments. They held hands, guiding George, Charlotte, and Louis through game stalls, laughing as Louis tried to grab an apple from a bucket of water. Charlotte, beaming, ran to hug both parents as if sensing their family was whole again. A photo taken by a close family friend, not a reporter, captured the moment, William and Kate hand in hand with their children, smiling brightly in front. They posted it on their official account with a simple caption: "Nothing is more precious than family. We choose to move forward together." The press has always celebrated them. A couple steadfast through any storm. One headline read, but only William and Kate knew the truth behind that photo. To stand together today, they'd crossed chasms of doubt, pain, and sleepless nights. They'd learned to forgive not just each other, but themselves for the moments of weakness that led them astray. As the festival ended, Kate stood beside William, watching their children play under the moonlight. She felt his hand tighten around hers, not forceful like a declaration, but gentle like a silent promise. She knew challenges lay ahead, but for the first time in months she believed they'd face them together. Not for the crown, but for the love and family that truly mattered. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this emotional story.